The mobile AA tank in Battlefield 5 has recently received an update. DICE thought that it was underpowered, and in all fairness I do believe that anti-air wasn't in the greatest place before the patch. It needed a bit of attention. However, in typical DICE fashion, instead of carefully tweaking a few numbers and thoroughly testing the vehicle before releasing, they just upped something significantly and let it out into the wild. This has resulted in an anti-air tank that is capable of killing an enemy plane in ridiculous time. The fact that AA currently has flak rounds as well, meaning that even if you miss your target you will still get rewarded with a vehicle hit, just makes no sense. It might be historically accurate, but in this particular case it would be more beneficial to balance the game based on actual gameplay when you're in game, not just some historical context that they might be trying to go for. Who do DICE think their target audience is at this point? One person clocked an AA to plane kill at 1.1 seconds. That is just absurd, and it almost proves that DICE either do not playtest half of the changes that appear with a patch, or if they do, the person testing them is just not qualified enough to confirm the patch is suitable. It goes without saying that buffs and nerfs to weapons in Battlefield have been notoriously poor, with the community having to deal with some criminally underpowered pieces of trash 1 second, only for DICE to patch the game and turn it into a god gun. Think back to the SMG-08 in Battlefield 1. It was awful. They patched it and turned it into a mag-dumping hipfire machine, and it required very little skill to be effective with. It had a detrimental effect on the game, and was one of those things that people criticised DICE for because they really hadn't thought about it with too much effort whatsoever. Just take a quick look at some of these kills with the anti-air gun in Battlefield 5. It's with the Axis AA tank. How on earth could a game tester look at this and think it's acceptable?
We have taken objective Gustav.
So what crazy loadout am I using on this thing? Well, funnily enough, for the Axis side at least, the AA tank comes like this as standard. The Allied side requires a bit of upgrading to reach peak performance, but it's still pretty decent with the base loadout. The slower firing cannons require more lead, but you'll still decimate anything within around 500 meters of you. The AA tank does come with some pretty sweet smoke options that allow you to provide cover for your teammates, but who would actually choose those over the wide variety of offensive options DICE have provided as standard? I think the AA tank and all other tanks should have smoke built in by default, and the ability to drop supplies for teammates should also be there for everybody to make use of. It shouldn't be an option, it shouldn't be a specialization, it should just be there as standard, and the specializations should focus on other things. I think team play, and this team play that they say is so great in Battlefield 5, is being hurt by decisions like this. Now some of you might be thinking, well, it's okay, I don't play in planes and I find them annoying anyway. Thank you DICE for essentially nerfing anything that moves in the sky. To be honest, I don't blame you. DICE made a real mess of planes at the start of the game, with the Ju-88 bomber being the main culprit, capable of destroying an entire enemy team on maps such as Hamada before the game even began. Planes are an integral part of the franchise, however, so it's in the interest of DICE to make sure that they are balanced and capable of at least matching the anti-air in the game if piloted by someone with a bit of skill. The issue, however, runs far deeper than simply overpowered AA guns, which is what we've got right now. Let's take a look at what else it could impact. If one tank is clearly overpowered, everybody will take that tank. Think back to Battlefield 1 and the really powerful mortar trucks and people camping in their base with them. This removes a large amount of balance from the game, meaning that you could suffer as a team. Imagine you are playing Panzerstorm, a map that allows each team to take 6 tanks at the start of a game. Your team takes 6 AA tanks. Yes, you'll dominate ground-to-air engagements, and maybe that's great, but you'll also have 6 tanks that aren't very effective against enemy ground armour and will almost certainly be camping on the perimeter of the map. Not good. Infantry will be left exposed. The enemy, assuming they took a mixture of tanks, will push through and dominate whilst your 6 AA tankers camp near your spawn, racking up kills on frustrated enemy pilots. No one wins in that situation, apart from those AA tankers, which is 6 out of 64 players. There is a simple fix to this issue as well, assuming that the AA tanks are nerfed, but I like to use the word balanced because I still want them to be effective, just in the right way. Let's go back to what we had in BF3 and BF4, where each team was allocated a set number of tanks, lavs and mobile anti-air guns, allowing the devs to actually implement some sort of vehicle balance without relying on player decisions. We had the same problem in Battlefield 1. For example, you could choose to take 2 AA tanks and 1 Tiger tank. You'd be driving around with a pretty decent balance, but if you came up against an enemy team that had gone for 3 proper tanks, maybe they'd gone for 3 Staghounds, you're not going to win that engagement at all, and the enemy team's going to benefit from it. Now, maybe that's okay, maybe that's down to player decision, but in my opinion, I'd much prefer to have it so one team is forced to take 2 tanks and 1 AA tank, and that is what the balance would be for that team. This isn't the first time we've seen powerful mobile anti-air guns. Think back to Battlefield 4 and the mobile anti-air that was capable of killing air targets, armour and infantry, whilst having the ability to travel across water and outrun most vehicles. It was fun to use, but it had a really detrimental impact on other aspects of the game. Many maps could have been real Battlefield classics, but were ruined by an overpowered AA gun. In some cases, DICE even remade classic Battlefield 3 maps such as Firestorm, which used to play really well, but down to the vehicle balance in Battlefield 4, they were just never the same. And that's the issue here. DICE have made a mess of something once again without thinking what impact it could potentially have on all players. DICE need to be careful in this situation, as simply nerfing the AA tank into oblivion will not do. As discussed before, the mobile AA did need some attention, but I really hope the next update sees it brought down a peg or two, but not by too much, as right now it is simply broken, but I don't want it ruined. I want it balanced. Let me know in the comments what you think of this change. It obviously came in the last patch. DICE maybe didn't test it as much as they should have, or in fact they definitely didn't test it as much as they should have. I was having a really easy time getting kills, especially on maps such as Hamada, where you can camp at the perimeter on a game mode such as Conquest, but it's also effective against infantry in a lot of situations as well. Now, I wouldn't say that it is beyond broken in all situations, it's mainly just that ground versus air situation, so any pilots who play on Battlefield 5 regularly and have experienced this AA gun, let me know in the comments what you think of it. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.